And so there's dealing with the sound of it approaching, coming overhead, and then just the holding your breath for a while, hoping it gets to where it needs to be without hurting anybody. And so that stimulates the whole stress response physiologically. And it also brings on a lot of anger because I am working at home. My office is in my home. And so I am dealing with jets coming over constantly, or it seems like constantly, and having to interrupt phone calls and train of thought and all of that. Another thing that's not often talked about is sleep disturbance and sleep deprivation brought on because there is no curfew on arriving aircraft. And this especially is important for the jets and for some of the louder multi-engine and single-engine piston planes. The thing that motivated me to get involved with the airport issue and go to airport commission meetings was one summer where I was awakened 3 times in one night by jets coming overhead, and that was it. I had finally had it and just started making noise myself. The official noise monitors, so the only real enforcement that's being done at the airport is noise, and even there the monitors are 1,500 feet off the end of each runway. So our community, in addition to impact from the jets, which to me really is the major impact that we're suffering, we have impact from 2 freeways, from traffic on Bundy, traffic on National, and the LAX jets. And so this is one more incremental thing, and to my knowledge, there was never an EIR or EIS done. It was an incremental increase in the jet traffic. And so I don't know if there are any remedies available to us under CEQA or NEPA, but this is definitely an issue that needs to be looked at because there was never a health assessment done. And a human health assessment from the jet impacts, from the airport impacts together really needs to be done and has not been addressed. Excuse me. In our community, there are, in fact, right on my block, there are 2 daycare facilities, which each are taking care of at least, I'm guessing at least 6 small children who are suffering from the impacts. There are several schools, as we've heard earlier, and there are at least 5 households raising young children, and this is just on one block. I enjoy growing fruit and vegetables in my backyard, and I stopped doing that over the last couple of years out of a concern for safety and toxics on the fruit and vegetables. I suddenly realized that, oh my God, we're talking about lead, and we're talking about all these other things and all the other pollutants, and I suddenly realized that the peaches off my tree, I thought I'd put in a plug for something other than lemons, were probably being impacted by this also. I've noticed black soot and oily residue, and at first I was willing to ignore the black soot, thinking it was a mold rather than something coming off the planes. And then when I was in a neighbor's yard and saw that her trees were not only covered with black soot, it was also accompanied by an oily residue, and that immediately made me think, okay, this is really serious. It's definitely not just a biological byproduct. Right. There has been a huge increase in frequency of jets. There was one day, especially around special events, there was one day that I started logging the jets because I was getting so furious. And over a couple hour period, I was logging jets at an interval of 5 to 10 minutes. A more normal day is probably at least one every half hour. As one of my neighbors said at an airport commission meeting a while back, if you fire off a cannon in my front yard once a day, I'm probably not going to care. If you fire off a firecracker every 15 minutes, it's going to drive me nuts.
Right. Okay, listen, I appreciate everything you're saying, but I want to just wrap it up if you could, because I want to get everybody else in.
Thank you. I have, over the last approximately 6 years, begun to suffer from respiratory and sinus issues. And prior to that time, I was the only person I knew when the flu went around who didn't get sick, never got whatever was going around. And now, correlating with the increase in jets, I am now getting sick. We need to tease out the sources of the pollution. We need to measure the toxic levels in longtime residents versus new arrivals to these communities. We also need to deal with Caltrans and the dust situation with the freeway work. And I would like to request that we do, at some time very soon, update Bill Piazza's work. And the other thing that just needs to be added to the record is the other issue that has really affected the incremental increase has been the increase in fractional ownership of jets. And this has had a huge effect on our community and on the airport operations. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. For housekeeping items, what I'd like is those who haven't testified, please kind of cue off of what's been said, because I want to give the panel a couple of minutes to reflect, and we've really been at it a long time. So I haven't used the clock or any of that kind of stuff that people like to abuse people with. So just go as quickly as you can at this point. Thanks a lot. Good evening.
Good evening. I'd really like to thank you all for being here.
Sure. Your name?
But I live on Westgate Avenue, which is 2 blocks
and what's your name?
Christine Malouf.
Oh, okay.
I live 2 blocks east of it and right dead center in the middle of the block. So you just look up and it's coming right over our home. And I've lived in the neighborhood for 30 years. I lived there since childhood. I bought the house across the street from my mom, and you know, I love the neighborhood, and when my husband and I got married, we moved there. So basically, my main concern is the same as the others, but you know, we really, you know, we can't entertain. You know, people come over and they just cringe. You know, how can you live here? And my biggest concern is my son. He's 2 years old, and I'm pregnant now with another child, and I'm concerned about them because I have asthma. My father died of cancer 15 years ago, and I have 2 other neighbors who died in the past year of cancer. And that's just alarming to me, you know, and I had another neighbor who just had surgery because of cancer. So that is the biggest impact for me, and I'm just concerned about my son, and I don't want him to have asthma just like I do, and you know, and basically I was just alarmed a few years ago when I received something about an environmental impact report about a park being, or like a recreational area right near the Santa Monica Airport. An environmental report, impact report about that. They were taking surveys about that, and I just thought, they're taking a survey of that, and they haven't surveyed, you know, the impact of these jets coming in. I just think that was ridiculous. So I just, you know, those are my main concerns, and I literally thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Please. Good evening, Bob. Bob Fitzpatrick, folks.
My name is Bob Fitzpatrick. I live on Dewey Street, just south of the airport.
Yeah.
For a long time, the last 5 to 7 years, the noise from the jets has been a dramatic increase. Dramatic is a polite word. I'll be talking to somebody on the phone, and we can't carry on a conversation. They'll say, gee, I didn't know you lived next to LAX. But I said, I don't. But it has been, it's so bad you can't even talk sometimes, and it's very frequent at night as during the day. I want to thank Martin and Joan for doing this, and Bill for your busy schedule and you people, and I hope we can galvanize some sort of an effort, unified governmental and various neighborhood efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership, Bob, and all these issues in the community.
Where do you live?
Sir.
I'm sorry. Where does he live? On the
He
west
lives
side?
in northern Mar Vista.
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
How you doing?
Good.
My name is Jason Dedamore. I live just west of the airport on Navy. And yeah, the jet noise is terrible. I mean, it's really, I don't mind during the day. I mean, I'm a tolerant guy, but at night, 2 o'clock in the morning when they wake me up, it's just, and I'll get away from that to just the health issues. Okay, the jet fumes are literally, my son, we used to live on 9th, which is only a few blocks away. We live now on 18th and 21st by the airport. He now gets an asthma attack every single day. I mean, every day he has an asthma attack now. And I know for a fact when you do this environmental study, you're going to come up, I mean,